gender.
Well, you may recognize me as news anchor here.
Right now at 5, Jasper County authorities respond to an early morning disturbance in Joplin that leaves one man dead.
And boy, we had a cold front that certainly lived up to its name. It is cold outside and it is breezy. We'll take a look at that forecast, get you out the door coming up.
Plus, the Kansas State Fire Marshal announces the death of another victim in a Chanute apartment fire, as well as the cause of the fire.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Elise Noe.
I'm Chris Warner. It is Tuesday. It is a very cold day. Of course, one thing we've been keeping an eye on is that bridge collapse in Baltimore this morning.
Right, absolutely. Just heartbreaking, and I don't think that they've have a cause for the collapse yet, but we'll definitely keep an eye on that for sure.
Well, the latest information I think that's coming, because I know there's that commute time and you're cut off from the world. A ship of some sort crashed into one of the piers. I've heard reports, but not seen for sure, that the ship sunk after crashing into the bridge. So it's a lot going on. Of course, we'll have more on that throughout the morning.
Absolutely.
Here on the local level, though, boy, that cold front, like you mentioned, it really lived up to its name. And that wind, I woke up, heard it howling out there. Yeah. I did not want to go outside, but I did, and here I am. And if you don't have to go outside this morning, maybe not. Otherwise, bundle up. Let's look outside. This is our camera on top of the Cornell Complex, downtown Joplin. It is breezy. It is cloudy. It is cold. That cold front did exactly what they're designed to do by Mother Nature, is make it colder. But this, boy, really brought temperatures down. MoDOT camera 32nd in range line. You can see it's shaking in the breeze. Now, the good news is the wind will ease up as we head into the afternoon. But between now and, say, about noon, we're still going to see gusts upwards of 30, 35 miles an hour. 33 in Joplin, 32 in Pittsburgh. Temperatures around the region into the low to mid 30s across the area, but you factor in that wind, and we've got wind chill values in the low 20s out there. We even had some upper teens earlier this morning, so you will need to bundle up. Kids getting on the bus, 31, cloudy, west breeze 15 to 20, and those gusts upwards of 35. Could still see some occasional gusts in the afternoon, but winds are going to ease up a bit and be west at 10 to 20, not 10 to 10. Mostly cloudy and about 42 when that bus brings them home. That's going to be the best we do for highs, upwards of 15, 20 degrees below normal, going into the low to mid 40s, and some clearing this afternoon. Otherwise, still mostly cloudy. We're going to have a full look at your forecast and tell you when it's going to warm back up to spring-like levels here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. A Joplin murder suspect pleads not guilty. Authorities say Scott Burleson stabbed and killed Seth Langford of Carl Junction. The incident happened on March 2nd. Burleson faces charges of second-degree murder, first-degree robbery, and 2 counts of armed criminal action. Joplin police investigate a deadly shooting they say started with a reported disturbance. It happened just before 10 a.m. yesterday morning at Hillbilly Pumping on 1845 Pump Lane. Authorities say someone reported a disturbance. When officers arrived, they found 37-year-old Travis Wyrick of Joplin dead on the property. No arrests have been made in the case, but no police say there is no threat to the public. The Kansas State Fire Marshal says a second person has died from last week's apartment fire in Chanute. Officials say 90-year-old Jolivon Haymaker died from severe injuries in the hospital on Saturday. Haymaker is the second victim of Thursday's Cornerstone Apartments fire. The first is 22-year-old Kaylin Jones, who was found dead at the scene. 7 other residents of the building were injured but have since been released from the hospital. The fire marshal also determined the cause of the fire to be accidental, saying it started due to carelessly discarded smoking materials on a balcony. A tractor-trailer grain hauler folds in Jasper County and blocks a roadway yesterday morning. It happened about 7:15. The crash happened on Chapel Road and Driftwood Lane. According to officials, a vehicle swerved into the truck's lane and caused the trailer driver to strike a culvert. The collapse spilled a small amount of corn on the road, and the USDA has been contacted regarding the 53,000 pounds of corn for livestock. There are no reported injuries. Fire departments in Oklahoma are training with new electric and hybrid vehicles. Logan County firefighters practice helping drivers in emergencies in these newer models. They require different tools and techniques. Firefighters could get shocked or even electrocuted if not handled properly. Yesterday, the Arvest Foundation granted $25,000 to the new community ride system in Southwest Missouri. The Economic Security Corporation began CARS, or Community Action Ride System, in response to the loss of the trolley system in the area. The program will serve Barton, Jasper, Newton, and McDonald counties in Missouri. Volunteer drivers are encouraged to participate.
You know, there's a ton of organizations in the Joplin area and Newton County and in all these areas, there's a ton of organizations. We really like to find those organizations that are reaching far, right? So the ones that are making a difference, like we heard Kavanaugh say, in all of the counties she listed. You know, this is one of those that's going to touch a lot of lives and provide access to a service that we've been without now for a year and a half.
The program is set to launch in May, but the community is invited out to a free event on April 13th revolving around this new program. For more information, including signing up for the service or volunteering to drive, head on over to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Driving near Miami, you may have seen a part of Route 66 called Ribbon Road. A proposal to repair that piece of the iconic highway has some people concerned. KOAM's Samantha Walker explains.
In the future, you'd drive by it and it really wouldn't stand out as anything but just a regular old road in the middle of the country, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
The historic Route 66 spans more than 2,000 miles across the country, but a 3-mile stretch in Ottawa County that is only 9 feet wide, called the Ribbon Road, is causing debates.
And we were concerned with the fact that the plan that was selected for the road involved destroying what's left and basically recreating it, putting a replica in place where this original pavement has sat for over 100 years.
While the road is officially in Ottawa County, there are multiple agencies involved in the discussions, including the association, Miami City and Ottawa County officials, and the Oklahoma Department of Transportation.
So there's been different views on how that should be preserved. Our view as a city is to preserve it as is and keep those original pieces of the Ribbon Road. Milling them, feels like kills them.
The last proposal regarding repairs to Ribbon Road was released in February and still included the prospect of milling and relaying the road. The Oklahoma Route 66 Association released a petition online to urge officials to work on patching and preserving the road rather than replicating it.
We absolutely would like to see it repaired so that, you know, the bumps and bruises this road has over the last 100 plus years, it's earned those. It should be able to keep those.
Miami Mayor Bless Parker says the public response to the proposal about Ribbon Road has not gone unnoticed.
Because there is so much going on right now with emails, with phone calls, and a lot of people are getting these. So I think they've decided to bring everybody back to the table again to make sure we get this right.
Reporting in Ottawa County, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
Miami officials say they have another meeting scheduled to discuss the future of Ribbon Road. When we visited Ribbon Road yesterday, we noticed it looked different than it did last week. As you can see, the road is now covered with dirt and gravel and little pavement is visible. Miami officials say they were unaware of work being done, but hope it is dirt laid down to help preserve the road as the proposal is discussed. We reached out to an official with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation to confirm what work is being done. We have not received a response. We also reached out to the District 3 Commissioner who is handling the proposal. His office told us he was unavailable all week. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes, coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Labette County softball is off to a hot start to its 2024 season, but can they keep it up? Plus, a mission accomplished as a Russian spacecraft successfully docks with the International Space Station. And we have a cool and cloudy day today. We'll have what to expect with Chris Warner in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back.
This is Scott with Windows for Less. With springtime in mind, so is spring cleaning. In features, it makes cleaning the outside glass easy breezy. Give us a call today to schedule your free at-home estimate. If you want the best for less, call Windows for Less.
Well, Lebec County softball is off to a hot start to its 2024 season. After the first week of games, the Lady Grizzlies are 2-0 with 14-run victories in each of their first 2 games, both of which were on the road. Columbus and Lebec County softball both off to 2-0 starts. Bottom of the second, Caitlin Simpson is going to hammer this pitch to left center, and that's gone for a 2-run homer. Tightens up 3-1. Gracie Major, the starting pitcher for Columbus, she's in a groove early, gets the strikeout to keep it a 2-run game in the third. But the fourth inning is where Lebec comes to life. 2 runners on. Keely Good smacks that into left field. Bases are now loaded. That sets up Kaiten O'Brien. She hits it hard up the middle into center field. 1 run scores. Tying run scores as well when the throw home gets away. And great base running by the Lady Grizzlies. Good comes all the way around from first and slides in safely. Lebec County shuts down Columbus from that point on. The Lady Grizzlies win 7-4. They improve to 3-0. Over 2/3 of the way through the 2023-24 sports season in the MIAA, Pittsburgh State, Missouri Southern, and all the rest of the conference's member schools have completed the fall and winter sports seasons. The MIAA announced yesterday its updated standings for the 23-24 Commissioner's Cup. Every year, this award is given to the school who performs the best across the board in conference play for every sport. Pittsburgh State is in first place entering the spring sports season. That means the Gorillas have overall been the top performing athletic department in the MIAA. The award gets presented at the end of all spring sports. Over to the Division I NCAA women's basketball tournament. The round of 32 concludes last night. Oklahoma women's hoops falls to Indiana 75-68, ending the Sooners season. OU finishes the year with a 23-10 record. The Sooners were Big 12 Conference regular season champs. Meanwhile, Kansas women's basketball also played in the round of 32 last night. Very late start. The USC Trojans tops the Kansas Jayhawks 73-55. The NFL Owners and Competition Committee met yesterday and approved a proposal that all but ensures more penalties in 2024. According to the NFL Network, the league unanimously decides to ban what's known as the swivel hip drop tackle. This means players will receive a 15-yard penalty if they grab a ball carrier with both hands and, quote, unweight themselves by swiveling and dropping their hips and or lower body, landing on and trapping the runner's legs at or below the knee. NFL Competition Committee Chairman Rich McKay says the swivel technique does not get used very often, but when it's used, it's incredibly injurious to the runner. NFL Executive Vice President Troy Vincent said last week that this play is likely to be enforced similar to the helmet tackling rule, which not only results in a 15-yard penalty, but warning letters and fines to offenders. Still to come, we're going to see how the Biden administration is planning to slash planet-warming pollution from heavy industries. And we'll now check that forecast, tell you when the warmer weather gets here, when the KOAM Morning News returns.
It's Ford Truck Month. Nominate your Ford State Hero today.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 5:18 on this Tuesday morning across the area. It is cold, it is cloudy, and it is windy out there. You could hear those winds howling this morning, and that's why I said earlier, I don't know if I really want to go outside or not, but I did, but I grabbed a coat, and you're going to want to do the same thing. That was our camera on the Cornell Complex. MoDOT camera, 32nd and Range Line. We're looking good aside from the fact that it's so cold out there, and KDOT camera on 69 just south of Pittsburgh, also looking pretty good, but even this camera's bobbing a bit in the wind, and I mentioned before, especially with that particular camera, the way it's installed, I'm not sure exactly what the story is, but it takes a lot of wind to shake that thing. 33 in Joplin right now, feels like 22 with a west-southwest breeze at 20, gusting upwards of 29 miles an hour, so absolutely frigid. There's the cold front, now well off to our east, approaching St. Louis. As for us, we are behind it now, and it was a cold front for sure. Our temperatures now in the low to mid-30s out there. Wind chill values are considerably colder. We're sitting in the low to mid-20s, in fact, really just low 20s, and earlier out west, you see these lighter colors here, we had some upper teens for our wind chills to get our day started. So cold for sure. Cloudy, breezy through the morning, 34 by 11 o'clock. We're about 20 degrees cooler today than we were yesterday, which also puts us about 20 degrees off of our average high for this time of year. We'll start to see the winds ease up a bit this afternoon. They'll still be gusting upwards of 20, but by this afternoon, they at least let up a little bit out there. And we'll see a little bit of sunshine here and there for some of us. We'll go mostly cloudy and 45 for our high today. And that is ahead of another cold night. Widespread frost a concern. I know that we're in the end of March. We're getting ready to go into April. There's some plants already in bloom. If you've got any that you can bring in, probably do that tonight as we fall back into the upper 20s. Mostly cloudy skies through the evening and gradual clearing overnight. As we get our Wednesday underway, we are going to actually be mostly clear, and then we'll see a few clouds here and there. So we'll go partly cloudy. We're warmer, still a few degrees below normal, 55, 32 Wednesday night, sunny, much better by Thursday into the low to mid 60s. And take a look as we head into the weekend, temperatures climbing into the mid upper 70s out there. And we do have another system though, Sunday into Monday and Tuesday, bringing some showers, maybe some thunderstorm chances as we head into the weekend, the start of next week. It also brings another round of much cooler weather out there as well. And of course, don't forget Easter Sunday, do be prepared for a stray shower or two. Otherwise, dress appropriately. It's going to be quite warm for kids doing those Easter egg hunts. That's Check Your Forecast. We're back with Health Watch right after this.
You said you were hit by a big truck?
Yeah. Ballerini, the CMT Music Awards, live April 7th on KOAM TV. Locally sponsored by Downstream Casino Resort.
And topping Health Watch this morning, more than a year after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, the controversial issue of abortion is once again facing the justices. The High Court is set to hear oral arguments today on whether the FDA was outside its authority when it made it easier for women to obtain the abortion pill mifepristone. A group called the Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine sued the FDA in the case. Other doctors and anti-abortion groups have joined in. Originally, they claimed the FDA should not have approved the drug, and now their attorneys are arguing that the agency allowed women easier access to mifepristone. One of the issues the justices will first determine is whether the doctors and other groups have been harmed by that drug in a way that gives them a right to sue. That's a legal concept known as standing. The Biden administration is spending $6 billion to slash planet-warming pollution from heavy industries, including cement, steel, and aluminum. That funding will go to more than 30 factories around the country who are taking steps to cut about 14 million metric tons of carbon dioxide annually. That equates to taking about 3.3 million cars off the road in a year. The funding comes from a combination of the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law. More than 2 million new cancer cases will be diagnosed in the U.S. this year alone, according to projections by the American Cancer Society. And certain cancers are being found more often in younger adults. While talking to children about a cancer diagnosis is hard, experts say it's important. Mandy Gaither has more on how to have this tough conversation.
After revealing her cancer diagnosis, Catherine, Princess of Wales, said one of her biggest priorities was finding the right way to tell her young children.
There was a time when, the information was hidden.
The American Cancer Society says children seem to sense when something is wrong, so keeping a cancer diagnosis from them may result in confusion and fear.
When you're talking to children, they probably understand, more than you think they will.
To start the conversation, the organization says to be open and honest, speak in a way they'll understand. They need to know what to expect and how the diagnosis will affect them. Younger children may need fewer details than those who are older. Most kids should know the basics, the type of cancer, where the cancer was detected in the body, what will happen during treatment, and how that treatment may change the person's life, their appearance, and how they feel.
A lot of times kids actually wind up blaming themselves. And so you need to reassure them, be honest with them, let them know it's a serious diagnosis, but there's a plan going forward.
Finally, the American Cancer Society says to allow children to ask questions and talk about how they're feeling. Find a good time when you won't be disturbed and when you're feeling calm enough to talk about the diagnosis. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The American Cancer Society says some children, like teenagers, might find comfort from a support group where they can express their feelings. There are also local and national camps across the U.S. designed for children who are impacted by a parent's cancer diagnosis. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we have got ourselves a cold and breezy day across the area out there, and it's going to be chilly for us, but it will eventually warm back up. We'll have another look at your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Are you game?
I am ready.
Then take a spin on the Wheel of Fortune.
Right now at 5:30, Missouri Southern hosted a first drop-in to celebrate the new on-campus skate ramp.
And it is cold and it is breezy out there as we kick off our Tuesday morning. We'll have a look at that forecast, get you out the door coming up.
Plus, we'll hear from Jasper County election officials about Election Day rules regarding electioneering.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Elise Snowy.
I'm Chris Warner. So on the way in, I don't know if you saw them. It's hard to see with the wind blowing as
Right.
hard, but there were some flurries. Nothing
missed
major.
them.
I only saw them hit and miss here and
Okay.
there. There weren't a lot of them, and with the wind blowing so hard, it's hard to see them
Right.
as it is. But there have been a few flurries out there. The good news is that's all it's going to be. So
good.
we don't have to worry about any kind of widespread snow. But that's just an indicator of how cold it is behind this cold front that came
freezing.
through. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
It is absolutely brutal out there this morning
Yes.
because we've been so spoiled here lately. And
I know.
the good news is we'll get spoiled again. We just have to wait a couple of days. Let's talk about what you need to know to get out the door this morning. Starting with a first look outside from the MoDOT camera at 32nd and Range Line. It is breezy. It is cold. Now you can see the camera shaking a little bit. That tells us the breezy part. Unfortunately, again, the camera doesn't tell us that it's cold, but I can assure you it is. How cold is it? Well, it's freezing. Literally. 33 in Joplin, 32 in Pittsburgh right now. Cloudy skies across the region. That cold front shifting off to the east side of Missouri. And around the area, we are in the low to mid 30s as we start our day. So some of us just a little below freezing out there. You factor in that wind gusting upwards of 30, 35 miles an hour this morning, putting our wind chills into the low 20s out there. We've even had some upper teens through the morning hours. So kids getting on the bus or you heading out to the office, bundle up this morning. Cloudy, breezy, west wind 15 to 20, those gusts to 35, be about 31 when the bus picks up the kids. When it comes back home, still some gusts upwards of 20, potentially 30, but by this afternoon, the winds will ease up a bit. Still mostly cloudy, still chilly. 42 when the bus brings them home. The best we're going to do for highs today is going to be about 45 degrees out there. And so that's going to be about 15 degrees below normal across the area and about 20 degrees cooler than where we were yesterday. Could see a few peaks of sun as we head into the afternoon and evening. Otherwise, mostly cloudy skies. Now, the good news is the skies will clear. The warm weather will return. We'll tell you when all of that's going to happen and about our next system here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, we'll check in with you soon, Chris. The Missouri Department of Conservation wants to remind people to leave wild baby animals alone. Chances are if you encounter a wild baby animal in its natural setting, the parent isn't too far away. While the inclination is to do a good deed, experts say interacting with a baby animal is one of the worst things people can do.
I know the internet is full of tales of stories about how people may have raised baby squirrels or baby birds or baby whatever. but there are also a lot of stories that didn't make the internet. And those are stories that ended with the death of the young.
Experts say trust the parent of the baby animal to know what it's doing. Well, as election season heats up, it's important to understand the rules and regulations. According to a Missouri state statute, electioneering is not allowed within 25 feet of polling sites, meaning no clothing, buttons, or signs promoting a political candidate or stance. If you happen to be wearing a shirt that breaks electioneering rules, poll workers will ask you to change or turn the shirt inside out. Jasper County Clerk Charlie Davis says these rules don't just apply to what's on that day's ballot.
But one of the other things that people don't think about is electioneering might not be just for this election. This is an April municipal election. So if there are people that are coming up on the ballot in August or November, that covers those as well.
Missouri's municipal election date is April 2nd. There are items on the ballot in all southwest Missouri counties. There's also an election in Oklahoma that day. The Downtown Joplin Alliance put out the call on Facebook yesterday for, quote, developers and innovators in reference to the Joplin Union Depot. Solicitations are now being sought for redevelopment of this historic piece of Joplin's past that has sat vacant for decades. Interested parties or developers have until May 31st to submit their solicitation of interest. We have more information on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com, including how to download your own solicitation of interest packet. Well, you might see a lot more skateboards in Missouri Southern. The university yesterday hosted a first drop-in to celebrate the new on-campus skate ramp. MSSU alumnus Nathan Bemo founded the American Ramp Company and wanted to give back to his alma mater, so his company built a ramp.
And if you're a skateboarder, it's like you're kind of choosing between, Missouri Southern and a different university. It's like, well, I skateboard, might as well have a ramp right by my dorm room, So if that kind of pushes over the edge for, kids to come every year here as opposed to somewhere else, that's a win for everybody.
The ramp is located by McCormick Residence Hall. Well, 1 in 7 people face hunger in the Ozarks. That's why Ozarks Food Harvest is thankful for an annual special Easter-time donation yesterday. Opal Foods out of Neosho donated more than 200,000 eggs to the charity. Fresh eggs are one of the most requested items from the food bank because they have a high protein content, nutrition, and versatility. Ozarks Food Harvest says it's difficult to get protein-dense foods, and this donation will be a huge help.
Storing is not the issue, and distributing is really not the issue. A lot of these eggs will be out by the end of this week, before Good Friday even. So it takes a lot of food to feed a third of the state, which is what Ozarks Food Harvest does. We're thrilled for this, and they're going to be on tables by the end of this week.
Opal Foods has been making this donation since 2008. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. More security being put in place following the deadly concert hall attack in Moscow over the weekend. Plus, there's been a dramatic back and forth between the U.S. and Israel over the war in Gaza. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Proud partner of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Topping World Watch, more security being put in place following that deadly concert hall attack in Moscow over the weekend. Correspondent Benjamin Hall has more from London.
Governments across Europe are stepping up security following the deadly attack on a Moscow concert hall by an ISIS affiliate. In France, Italy, Germany and elsewhere, officials are acknowledging the terror threat is severe and they're preparing for the possibility of more attacks on so-called soft targets like theatres and shopping centres.
Given the extent of the network and its intentions, and as a measure of precaution based on solid and concrete evidence, we've decided to increase the threat level.
In Moscow, there's still a heavy police presence, but life is slowly returning to normal, with makeshift memorials honoring the victims being erected around the city. At least 137 people died in Friday's attack, but officials are still working on clearing the concert hall, meaning more bodies could be uncovered.
We are examining the venue meter by meter with the involvement of canine crews. We dismantle metal structures and remove them. The work continues.
Meanwhile, the US and other Western allies are pushing back on Russian claims that Ukraine could have been behind the attack. They say the evidence is clear. ISIS was solely responsible. And now the White House is calling on Moscow not to use this as an excuse to escalate attacks on the Ukrainians.
There was no Ukrainian involvement, period. You've seen the Ukrainian government make that clear, and of course, with respect to these statements, the Russians have offered zero evidence because there is no evidence of Ukrainian involvement.
4 suspects in the attack appeared in a Moscow courtroom on Monday, each showing signs of torture. 2 of them have already pled guilty.
Mission accomplished as a Russian spacecraft successfully docks with the International Space Station. The Soyuz MS-25 crew reached the ISS Monday just after 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The spacecraft was carrying NASA astronaut Tracy Dyson, Russian cosmonaut Oleg Novitsky, and spaceflight participant Marina Velizkovskaya of Belarus. It comes 2 days after the liftoff was aborted due to a power source problem. The trio will join Expedition 70 crew members already living and working aboard the orbital lab. NASA says Dyson will spend 6 months abroad the station as an Expedition 70 and 71 flight engineer. Well, dozens of migrants rushed past National Guardsmen at the Texas border Thursday. This incident taking place at Gate 45 along the U.S.-Mexico border in El Paso, Texas. The gate is not considered a legal port of entry, but dozens of migrants can be seen pulling the metal fencing and rushing past Texas National Guard soldiers, only to be stopped by a larger border fence. Residents of Ukraine's capital took shelter Monday in metro stations after air raid alarms went off for the 2nd time that day. This is the 3rd time Russia has launched missiles against Kiev in the past week. Strikes Monday morning hitting quickly after the air raid alarms went off. Metro staff gave chairs out to people. However, many opted to sit on the floor as they followed updates on the news online. According to the Ukraine Rescue Service, 9 people were injured in the morning strike. Russia also sent 2 ballistic missiles to Kiev were both intercepted. News outlets said there were at least 2 explosions later in the day in Odessa as well as other regions. There has been a dramatic back and forth between the U.S. and Israel over the war in Gaza. After a UN vote on a ceasefire, Israel canceled a high-profile meeting with American counterparts. Correspondent Connor Hansen has more from New York.
As fighting in Gaza continues, the U.S. abstained from a UN Security Council vote allowing a ceasefire resolution to pass. The measure calls for hostages to be released, but doesn't directly tie it to a ceasefire.
This decision to abstain on this resolution is in keeping with the national security interests of the United States.
Because the U.S. did not veto the measure like it has before, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced he will no longer send a high-level delegation to Washington to discuss strategy.
We get to decide what our policy is. The Prime Minister's office seems to be indicating through public statements that we somehow changed here. We haven't.
But Israel's defense minister is in D.C. already, meeting with American counterparts.
We have no moral right to stop the war in Gaza until we return all the hostages home.
U.S. officials have been concerned about Israel's plans to move troops into Gaza's southern region of Rafah.
There are somewhere around 1.4 million people in Rafah now, and the government of Israel has not presented a credible plan to evacuate those people to other areas and take care of them once they were moved.
The UN also continues to call for more aid to be allowed into Gaza, as experts warn there could be widespread famine. Israel is almost a week into its assault on a major Gaza hospital. An Israeli army spokesperson says they have killed 170 terrorists there and arrested hundreds of others connected to Hamas.
And that's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
Henson Septic Tank and Supply is your local producer of custom septic tanks. Electric Volt, safer.
On demand with the KOAM Plus app. Ahead of the Storm is brought to you by Stickland & Stickland Law Firm, Downstream Casino Resort, and Bridgewater Roofing.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. 546 coming up on 547 on this very cold Tuesday morning out there. Look from our camera on the Cornell Complex downtown Joplin. It's cloudy and it is breezy, and as mentioned, it is quite cold. MoDOT camera 32nd in range line, looking back to the west. As you can see, it's still bobbing around a bit in some of those gusty winds out there, and that's not making it any better, of course. We're falling back almost into a February pattern with these temperatures. KDOT camera south of Pittsburgh on 69, also looking pretty good so far. Another view of those clouds out there, and it is cold. 33 in Joplin, feels like 22. That west-southwest breeze at 20, gusting upwards of 29 miles an hour across the area. So temperatures, 30s, low to mid-30s. We've got 30 in Iola as one of the colder spots out there. Thankfully, at least our temperatures aren't in the 20s right now, but knocking on that door in Iola at 30. However, that doesn't matter. You factor in that gusty wind out there, and take a look at these wind chills. Low 20s across the area. The best we're averaging is 21, and we've got 22 in Siloam Springs and Newata. That's really about as good as it gets out there. Oh, sorry, Chanute, 23. Okay. Feels bitterly cold. It's going to feel that way through the morning. These wind gusts going to continue through the morning hours. They'll ease up a bit heading into the afternoon. So we're going to see those gusts lay back to about 15 to 20 miles an hour, which will be much better than where we are now. But until then, we're only up to 34. We're cloudy through the morning and quite cold. Those wind chills hanging out in the 20s for a good portion of the first half of our day. Some of us could see a few peaks of sun as we head into the afternoon. Otherwise, mostly cloudy skies. 45, so about 20 degrees off of where we were yesterday and about 15 degrees off of our average high for this time of year. As we head into the evening, still mostly cloudy, but again, the winds are a bit better, 15 to 20 miles an hour instead of gusting upwards of 35 or 40. And also a heads up, if you've got outdoor plants tonight, widespread frost is expected tonight and probably again tomorrow night. So if you've got any of those, you can cover up or maybe bring inside. You might want to consider doing that. We will eventually also see some gradual clearing tonight, falling back into the upper 20s, partly cloudy skies. On our Wednesday, we're actually going to start mostly clear, but then we'll see a few clouds here and there, so we'll call it partly cloudy. We're a little warmer, but still a few degrees off average, 55, 32 tomorrow night, and then temperatures get better. Take a look at this rise up to near 80 by this coming Monday, 78 on Easter Sunday. Then we've got another system that's going to roll in Sunday, start bringing us chances for some showers, maybe some thunderstorms Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. This system also bringing us another round of fairly cool temperatures out there as we fall back into the 50s, maybe even the 40s by next Thursday, and some chilly overnights once again. So enjoy this weekend because it's going to get cold one more time across the area. That's a check of your forecast. We're back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Play for your chance.
A North Carolina hotel doesn't just have human guests, it also fosters shelter dogs in an effort to get them adopted. One older pup recently found his forever home with a guest. Russ Hodge has the details.
The welcome is likely to have a different sound as guests check into the park on Main in Highlands.
The hotel is dog friendly. It's dog forward, I would say.
It's not only dog friendly, says the general manager, but a place that fosters dogs from the Cashers Highlands Humane Society.
This relationship started in 2015. We've probably adopted 25 to 30 dogs through the history of our partnership, and those dogs have gone all over the country.
Calhoun, an 8-year-old hound dog mix rescued by the shelter last July as a stray in Hendersonville, is the latest dog in residence. Not just getting a chance to live in the lap of luxury, but also getting exposure to multiple guests, each one a possible forever adoptee.
The guest took Calhoun to a room, took him on a walk.
That recent guest was Sydney Hakel, visiting from Nashville, Tennessee. She went home without him, but couldn't get him off her mind. A reminder to her and her boyfriend of a previous dog they lost not long ago. They decided they had to adopt him. Hakel made the necessary arrangements with shelter staff.
Calhoun just kind of spoke to her
to bring Calhoun home. Plans made for the handoff at a halfway spot in Tennessee.
Come on. He curled up on the dog bed the whole time.
He's like a senior. He's so spry.
Oh yeah, he's very spry.
Hakel overjoyed.
We just fell in love with him and happy to take him home.
He'll have a playmate when he arrives, their other dog named Goober.
Have them kind of meet each other and then just let him roam around and explore. I definitely want to get him a Starbucks pup cup at some point of whipped cream to celebrate.
For the park on Main, a combination of emotions.
Be sorry to see him go. It's a sad day for us, but we're also very happy that he found his forever home.
Calhoun, a name of Scottish origin meaning from the narrow woods, finally finding his way to his forever home.
Good boy.
Well, how cute. Certainly a hotel that I would like to stay at. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You are an innocent victim injured by some.
Visit creativelearningalliance.org/eclipse and join in the activities.
Well, tattoo shops around the world take part in a fundraiser for victims of sexual abuse. Pastime Tattoo in Oakland, California was one of the many shops that participated in the Still Not Asking For It event. That shop donated all the proceeds from its pre-made tattoo flash designs, which range from $150 to $300 each. The annual event began in New York in 2015 and has expanded worldwide. Coney Island's iconic Luna Park reopened over the weekend. Despite New York's wet and cold weather, the park welcomed its first visitors of the 2024 season Saturday and Sunday. Luna Park spans much of the boardwalk with carnival-style games and a carousel. This year, its famous wooden roller coaster, the Cyclone, celebrated its 97th year of thrills, with organizers giving the first 97 visitors a free ride.
And we've got ourselves a pretty cold start out there, and it's going to be chilly through the morning hours as well. Cloudy, 34 by 11. Gusty winds still pushing upwards of, say, 30, 35 miles an hour. That'll keep our wind chills in the 20s through the morning as well. Some good news, those winds ease up just a bit by this afternoon. We'll see them pushing upwards of 20 miles an hour, and some of us may even see a few peaks of sunshine out there. Otherwise, mostly cloudy skies and 45 for our high today. So that's about 20 degrees off of where we were yesterday, about 15 degrees or so off of our average high. Heading through the evening, we're still mostly cloudy, but again, at least the winds are going to ease up a bit for us. Widespread frost a concern not just tonight, but tomorrow night as well. So if you have any of those outdoor plants that you can either cover or potentially bring in, you might consider doing that the next couple of nights. We're going to fall back into the upper 20s. We'll also see some gradual clearing tonight as well and start to go partly cloudy. We'll start our Wednesday mostly clear, then we'll see a few clouds here and there. Still warmer, but still below average. Mid-50s tomorrow, 32 tomorrow night, hence the opportunity for some additional frost out there. Temperatures begin to warm, though, as we head into the weekend. We're getting close to 80 degrees by Sunday and Monday, so dress appropriately for those Easter egg hunts. And also, keep an eye out for some showers. Another system Sunday, Monday, Tuesday brings us more shower and thunderstorm chances and cooler weather next week. Let's check your forecast. We've got a whole nother hour of the KOAM Morning News right after this.